Hi, today I'm going to introduce you to Ionic AppFlow. So AppFlow is similar in many ways to PhoneGap Build, allows you to build native iOS and Android applications in the cloud. It's a little bit different than PhoneGap Build, but we've done an integration within the Alpha PhoneGap Builder to allow you to very easily work with Ionic AppFlow. So why would you be interested in this? If you didn't have a Mac, you didn't want to use the native Xcode development environment, say in a cloud service like Mac and Cloud, you just wanted basically the same functionality that you've had out of PhoneGap Build, but you wanted to make sure that you're using the latest Xcode versions and so that you could publish to the Apple Store. AppFlow will allow us to do that. Now, this screen tells us that it's for free, but that's really not true, because in order to build an application, you've got to go with this service, which is their $42 a month service. That allows you to build, to compile native app binaries. So that's what you need to do to get started. And in this video, I'll go through the whole process of using the PhoneGap builder along with AppFlow, and we'll generate a full application. To start out with, I thought we'd take a look at the dashboard for Ionic AppFlow, and then I'll show you an application that we've already built with it, and then I'll take you through actually building a new application with Ionic AppFlow. So here we are at the Developer Hub, and I'm just going to click on Apps, and here we can see the one app that I've already built. And let's go ahead and select that. Now what it's going to do is show me the commits that I've made. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie this project to a GitHub repo. And when we make any changes to the project in Alpha, those changes are going to go directly to the GitHub repo. We'll do a commit, and we'll be using the GitHub desktop for Windows client for that. Once those commits come in, they will show up here. And then you can click on these commits and you can see exactly what you changed and so on. And then in order to build, you just click on this box over here. You say, what would you like to build? In this case, I've got an iOS Xcode 11. I could say I want to build for Android. What type of build is it? Is it a debug build or a release build? You also have to update your credentials, very, very similar to the way you need to do that in PhoneGap Build as well, certificates and so on for iOS builds. But once that's all done and you just click on Build, it will go ahead, and what it's going to do is it fires off a VM, and it's going to run this whole script that will generate, in this case, the Android build, the full APK. Once it's done, you can click over here and download the APK or the IPA file, and then those can be installed. In this case, these are development versions, and they can be installed on those devices. We can also go back to the build screen, and see this build in progress right here. Yes, that's how you do it. Just click on it, and if there's any errors or anything like that, you'll see that come up here. Let's go take a look at how you actually build a project in Alpha. Step one, before you try to use the Alpha Ionic AppFlow integration, make sure to install GitHub Desktop. So this is what you're going to be using to manage your repos and to publish up to your GitHub account. Once it's installed, it'll look something like this. Manage all your different repositories. You can push to your GitHub repo right here. It's really simple to use. Makes things quite easy. So in this case, we'll say that we want to generate a PhoneGap project. We'll create a new project. We'll just call this Ionic Test 3. You can now select Ionic AppFlow. When you do that, select the type of build you want to generate. In this case, we'll say Android and iOS. Select the initial UX component. This is all very similar to what you've always done with PhoneGap Build. And you enter in your, in this case here, we'll go select an icon. We'll select a storyboard image. And then we would change our name and our version number and all of that. Select, well, we've got the WK WebView engine coming in, however many plugins we might need for this. Go ahead and select them. And now you just save and build for Ionic AppFlow. It's going to create all of the files that it always has, storyboard launch image, etc. And those files have now been published. And what happens is it launches the GitHub desktop version for Windows, and it's going to say, would you like to add a local repo? In this case, we haven't even created it yet. So it says that this directory, which is part of the whole project structure in Alpha, it does not currently seem to be a Git repo because it isn't. So you want to say create a repository here. You go ahead and do that. You can. This is the name of the repo, and you could put a description in here. I'll just say test app, and our local path is already defined. And you can just say create repository. That's now done, and you'll see in history we'll see everything that's done with the initial commit. And at this point, it hasn't been published to a repository on GitHub. So that's what you need to do in order to work with Ionic's AppFlow. So in this case, we'll say publish to a repository. We're going to create a new repository. We're going to keep it private. We'll call it Ionic Test 3. Publish to the repo. It reaches out to my GitHub account and publishes that repo. So this is what you go through when you first create a project. Now, what we haven't done at this point is we haven't wired Ionic AppFlow to our project GitHub repo. So what we need to do is create a new project in AppFlow, wire it into that repo, and then we can start building. We'll take a look at that next. Now we're back in our dashboard for Ionic AppFlow. What we're going to do is create a new app. And we'll just call this Test App 2. Go ahead and create the app. Now, the next thing we need to do is make sure that the app is wired into our GitHub repo. Come down to Settings, click on Git, then up top here, click on GitHub. And if at this point you have not connected AppFlow to your GitHub account, it will ask you for your credentials and so on. In this case, we can see all of the GitHub. These are all my repos up on GitHub. And the app that we just created in Alpha is this one here. It's Test 3. I suppose I should have named it that, but I didn't. So let's go ahead and select that. And you can now see that we're connected there for this particular application. Now, if we come up to commits, it says we don't have any commits for this app. Well, we do actually. We've done 2 commits, but Ionic AppFlow doesn't realize that. So in order to have anything show up that you can build, once you've got everything connected, so you've built your project within Ionic AppFlow and you've connected it to your GitHub repo, what you need to do is go back into Alpha, make a change, anything, just make something dirty or whatever, and make a commit, and then AppFlow will pick it up. Let's take a look at doing that. Okay, so here we are back in Alpha, and in this case, we'll make a quick change to this component here. We'll just change this to say Rev2. So we've got something that changes, and we'll save that. We'll jump into the PhoneGap Builder, Ionic AppFlow. It's all the same. Everything's the same. Here we don't need to generate these images because they've already been done. We do want to generate the PhoneGap asset files, and that's all we're going to change. So save and build for Ionic AppFlow. Whatever files changed are what going to be will be identified within the repo as having changed, and so we have the index.html file, and we'll leave this comment that says update index.html, commit to master. And now we need to push it to GitHub, which we'll do. And now AppFlow will pick it up, and we can now do a build with that. We'll take a look at that. So we're back in our dashboard. We can see our project here. We can see our commits. I had to go to overview quickly and then come back to commits so it's scanned again. And here we see our commit, update index.html. If we wanted to look at it on GitHub, we could. We can see our changes. And if we want to build, we click over here. Now, if we want to do an iOS build, in this case, our credentials have not been updated. So you'll notice it says that you need to create a security profile before packaging a build. So let's go ahead and do that. So click on security profile here, and we can add our first profile, and we'll just call it REM development. And it's going to be a development profile. Let's create it. And this is for our iOS credentials. So you're going to have to upload your certificate P12 file, just like you have to do with PhoneGap Build, and your provisioning profile, and also to include the certificate password. Let's just go choose the files. The first thing that I need to upload is my certificates.p12 file. Go ahead and choose that. That's done. I need to enter in the password, and I need to upload my provisioning profile, which is this one here. That's done. Save it. It will authenticate at this point. So if there were problems with your credentials, it would tell you right now. And let's go back to our commits. And let's do our build. Notice now it's got a security profile. You can just go ahead and build. It will fire off a virtual machine and initiate the build process. And we'll check back on this when it's done. Once the build process is complete, you can look through all of the different messages that were generated during the build process. But what you want to see at the end was job succeeded. And then over here on artifacts, you can see the IPA file that was generated. If you click on this, it will download that file. And the way you would install it onto a device that's included in the provisioning profile is use this application. It stands for Development and In-House Apps Wireless Installation. And what you do is you just upload your application. I've already just generated one, but let's do another one. So let me just open up Finder and on my Mac here. I drag the IPA file in, drop it, say send. This is a free service, so it's really helpful. It's going to generate a QR code so you can install it on a device, or you've now got a link that you could send out and others could install that as well. So we've taken you through the whole process of generating an app within the PhoneGap Builder for use with Ionic AppFlow, and within Ionic AppFlow we created a new project, wired it into our GitHub repo, and in this case we built a working iOS app. So I hope you find this useful. Thank you very much.